Well, this dish is, in Italians, they call it Inzimino, which is a dish using chickpeas, onions, carrots, Swiss chard, parsley, a bit more chilli, a little dash of white wine.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off, again, with a bit of olive oil in the pan. Now, I mean, the onion and the carrot, you want to kind of soften them for about 25 minutes so you get this lovely sweet taste.
Okay.
Because there's lots of sugar in carrot. If you sort of cook that really slowly, you'll get this lovely caramelised kind of carrot. That's the base of the sort of chickpea stew.
And also with the red onion, that's sweeter anyway.
That's very sweet anyway, yeah.
Do you want me to stir that for you?
Do you want to stir that?
Yeah.
Now, while you're there, I'm just going to use some of these chard stalks. It's a great way of using chard stalks. I mean, the thing about chard is it's very tempting just to take the green leaf off and just use blanch the green leaf, but actually there's so much flavour in the stalk as well.
That's like broccoli though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hate throwing away all those broccoli stalks.
Exactly, and you know, if you just sort of cut them up and blanch them with the leaf and add them, it sort of becomes a sort of another vegetable with the chickpeas. So I'm just going to...
It's another way of doing it as opposed to always chucking things
or
in
just
the stock,
chucking,
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, or just worse still, just throwing them away. You know?
Yeah.
So just going to put those in.
Now your kids, they're quite sophisticated in their eating habits.
If you cook good food, you know, your kids are kind of sponges. They just absorb it and they know what's good and what's bad. And you know, they'll go off to kids' parties and there's been like hamburgers or something, and they're like, the burgers weren't homemade or something. It's like, oh, you know, it's disaster.
It's that cringeable
and they
thing,
don't
though,
touch
isn't it?
things like Coca-Cola. But you know, it sounds like I'm kind of sort of being really mean, but they just don't like things like that.
But I mean, you're not being mean if that's the way that they've learned and that's natural in your household.
Yeah.
Okay.
So ideally, I'd cook this for about 25 minutes, but just add the tomatoes and cook that again for about 10-15 minutes. So it all sort of cooks down and caramelizes. Okay. I'm just going to be cheat here and take one that we did earlier on.
Great. Let's
push that over. Let's put that there. And then we're going to add the chickpeas. Now these are tin chickpeas, obviously, but you know, the thing about chickpeas is if you dry them and soak them and they're old, they tend to be they take a long time to cook, and sometimes they never really cook, so they're probably too old. Same principle as the borlotti bean. You know, if they're over 6 months old, they tend to be they'll never cook properly. You have to put loads
hard and tasteless.
Yeah, and you have to put loads of baking powder in, and they just don't do it. But a good way of testing, just pressing them if they're soft, and there'll be no they'll be fine to eat those because they're kind of pasty.
Okay.
So I'm just going to add those to the tomato and carrot mix. You want to cook that in, so all the tomato goes into the chickpeas, almost changes the colour of the chickpea. It becomes slightly kind of red.
And have you seasoned that at all, or not yet?
Not yet. No, I'm going to season that in a minute. So cook that in. At this point, we're going to just check the chard. It's not quite ready yet, so we'll chop some parsley up. Now this dish could be served with lamb chops, veal chops, grilled fish. It's really versatile. But
or just on its own?
Well, it's a really great vegetarian
dish.
I mean, you know, this could be the perfect thing for lunch. You know,
it would be.
Just a bowl of this with some nice olive oil and a bit of bread.
I'd have it there with a baked potato. That would be perfect.
Yeah, or baked potato. Yeah, but I mean, you know, I think actually, you know, what would be really good would be a nice grilled lamb. Would be lovely with it.
I haven't got any fresh herbs around. What could you use to flavour it?
If you haven't got fresh herbs, that's a tough one because this thing's really relying on freshness. So I think you kind of need a little bit of parsley or a little bit of something. And the fact you got the chard in there, I wouldn't add anything really apart from just some nice olive oil, to be honest with you.
Could you put any spices in it?
Well, I'm just about to put a little bit of fresh chilli in there as well, which just lifts it and gives it that kind of a little bit more complexity.